Nerubians coming back? What is Doran even talking about here? Let's see what he means and what this could be.
Nerubians were playable back in Warcraft 3. We had the Crypt Lord class that was iconic and unlike anything else in the game. Remember Anubarak? Last time these guys were relevant was back in Wrath, but since then we had actually received updates on them even as recent as post Shadowlands. Seeing that they're old god minions that rebelled against them.
By the way, if you didn't know this, the Nerubians were very relevant to the Scourge because they were essentially, they fought against the Scourge for a long time. Believe it or not, that was something that Arthas went in and really wanted to take over and have him join his army.
If Yogg-Saron and the old gods broke free, could they call upon them to serve their native purpose? And if a faction rebels, could they join the Horde in the Alliance and become playable? Are playable Nerubians even possible? How would they work with their shape? Could we get a Crypt Lord class with spikes, burrowing underground, and the best tank potential ever? What is going on with the Nerubians? What are they up to? And could we see the return?
Not Pirates equals bad.
If you guys want to buy Total War, Elder Scrolls, or any other game, you can get them at great prices with my Gamivo link. You can also get anything Warcraft related, gift cards and software, and all below market prices. Best of all, if you add my code DORON, you can get an even
Shadowlands too.
So make
yeah,
sure
that's
you
what
check
we're
out
getting.
my link in the description and get some amazing deals with Gamivo. When you really think about it, Nerubians are actually quite strange and a super unique race in WoW. They're actually old god minions, the Akir, just insectoid, mindless beings that waged war and tried to take all of Azeroth in the ages past. They were in a massive, super long war with the trolls thousands of years ago.
I forgot about their connection to the old gods, so yeah, they could be coming back considering we're getting all this old god shit. The Nerubians were highly relevant when it came to the old gods. Oh shit! Maybe a speculative video from Dorn actually turns out to be right.
Various groups, one of these groups being the Nerubians. What is really interesting is that these Nerubians, despite settling their kingdom really close to the prison of one of the stronger old gods, Yogg-Saron, at some point in time decided to just completely abandon their ways and to stop following the old gods and to just become independent and do their own thing. We don't really know what led to this, as some parts were retconned, but by this old lore, they just didn't see any point in following the void beings from outside of Azeroth.
I will say one thing about the old gods, that they seem to give far more than the Titans do. It's free will. Remember, like, the only reason why we have free will, and when I say we, I mean like the humans, the dwarves, gnomes, everything, you know, all these races that were created by the Titans and then given the curse of flesh is because of the curse of flesh. That's the reason why we have free will. Otherwise, we were just mindless Titan beings that just were supposed to maintain the surface of Azeroth while she, you know, hibernated and did her thing. So, I mean, the Nerubians, I guess, did the same thing. They kind of just decided to take their own free will and do their own thing outside of what the old gods had created them for.
It happened so long ago that by the time of Warcraft 3, many of them thought of them being old god servants was just a legend. It wasn't even true, it wasn't even real. However, as we know, it is real, and in their core, Nerubians are old god minions, just like the Faceless Ones. They went to Northrend, took over Titan facilities, enslaved and destroyed the Titan Tolvir. Then they were defeated by the Lich King in a really drawn-out war, as they were immune to the Plague of Undeath.
That's right, the Plague of Undeath couldn't get them, so that, like I said, the Arthas and the Nerubians went at it for a long time. They were one of the most difficult races for him to take out.
Even had some success, but then they dug their tunnels too deep and uncovered Yogg-Saron and his Faceless Ones, their former master, that ultimately destroyed them and led to the demise of their empire. Most of the Nerubians were destroyed, especially the majority that became a part of the Scourge, but there was an independent faction that was actually friendly to us and that, by their insanely long history in the Warcraft franchise, can completely realistically join our factions. Remember that back in Warcraft 3, Nerubians were playable, we even had a Crypt Lord class, so this wasn't just one-off expansion filler race like a lot of the others that we tend to see. Now, all of this happened back in Wrath of the Lich King, and you may be wondering, are these guys even still a thing? how could the Nerubians return, and luckily we actually have some official Blizzard information on this, as we've received multiple updates over the years. So the first update happened around Cataclysm, where we learned that Nerubians hid an enormous secret stash of eggs that they could use to repopulate their people after the defeat of the Scourge.
Yeah,
this was the first hint we got post-Rat. Then in BFA, we got the Nerubians back as we went to this little island expedition near Northrend, somewhere near Northrend, where we could discover them.
I never did the island expedition.
Although these guys, the skittering hollow guys, were different. They got there together with a spider lord that dug a huge tunnel during the War of the Spider, as they saw that they were losing to the Scourge, but ultimately we defeated them as well. Then later in BFA, we learned that some Nerubians were summoned by Zek Waz using corrupted Titan discs, and these were the only Nerubians we can actually see that were loyal to the old gods and doing their bidding.
That's the thing. I think if we see Nerubians again, I see them as the loyalists to the old gods. Like that's the version of them that we'd see. Otherwise, honestly, they've kind of been wiped off the face of the planet. They're probably hiding somewhere underground still in little pockets, but the ones that we'd probably get would be the loyalists to the old gods, considering that's the theme right now, and we're going all old god avoiding and shit.
Most importantly, we got the most up-to-date news, and that was after Shadowlands with the Exploring Northern book. This was a little bit deflating for all the Nerubian enthusiasts, as by the Cataclysm seed that they had planted, you would expect them to be at their full glory now, but we learned that most of the Nerubian kingdom is still in ruins, some buildings still stand, and the dwarves ran into some Nerubians of the good sort. So by these hints, it is possible that they rebuilt, some of those eggs grew, but all this rebuilding is still in the very early stages. After all, those eggs need time to grow. However, since the Jailer and most of the Scourge
God, what's this guy doing in this video? Fuck. Oh no. Bad video. I was just gonna say real quick, I love the Nerubian architecture. I think like if they ever actually release like a city or like some kind of large area just filled with Nerubians, and it was like a Nerubian city like this, I think that'd be so cool. Their architecture is so unique in terms of like just wow in general. Like as soon as you see a building from the Nerubians, you know it's from them, which is a pretty cool thing. All right, what the fuck is he gonna say about the Jailer?
Eggs need time to grow. However, since the Jailer and most of the Scourge actually being destroyed, not just leaders, as was the case in Rat, I think they now have a much better chance of bringing their empire back.
True.
However, right now things are getting even more interesting. There is a lot more potential. As we all know, old gods are getting more relevant than ever in Dragonflight, and I feel like as they get relevant, their minions are going to get relevant as well in turn. Remember back in Mist how the Mantid that was also sort of independent, doing their own thing, just completely flocked to Garrosh as he got the heart of Yasharaj, who was the most powerful old god. I feel like the same thing could happen to the Nerubians and Yogg-Saron if he broke free. Sure, they were independent for thousands of years, but it is easy to be independent when Yogg-Saron is weak and in prison and no one really threatens your independence. However, Yogg-Saron made Galakrond, as we've just learned, whose essence was just taken by Ridicron. It was confirmed that Yogg-Saron is still sort of active in Northrend a year ago, and Xaladat is obviously planning something crazy. So let's just say that Yogg-Saron somehow manages to break free, and not just him, but all the old gods, they get their actual power levels back, not the weakened forms you always faced, and we get an actual Black Empire. Imagine if then they call their minions back. I mean, do you think Nerubians can really resist this call? My guess is no, and I could see them splitting into factions, one that want to return
they're right here. I've never actually noticed that they're in this image,
their old glory, as their independent empire was shattered, so there's no point in independence anymore. Let's just go back to the Black Empire, and we could get a faction of the stronger ones, the ones that want to rebuild an independent empire in Northrend. These guys could join us and actually become playable. However, how could this realistically work, and how would a Crypt Lord class even work out?
I don't think they're going to be playable.
The biggest thing about Nerubians is their actual shape that is the biggest problem. I mean, sure, we have all sorts of shaped races, but these guys are pretty much spiders, so it would be hard to make everything fit around them, the armor. Luckily though, Blizzard did create a precedent with the Draktyr. I mean, they managed to give us a dragon race that is humanoid and quite...
Yeah, but still, the Draktyr, like, by lore, have a visage form. And even like all the speculation about the Naga, right? They were once night elves, so they could maybe have somehow figured out how to turn back into night elves in a way and still, go back and forth between the two forms. But Nerubians, they've never had any type of humanoid form. They're just spiders and shit. I can't imagine. Like, no armor would show on them whatsoever, from the waist down. Maybe you could show the shoulders, but that'd be it. I don't think this is good.
Unlike the
I don't think this
actually
will
massive dragons, I could see something similar happening with the Nerubians. I mean, if this faction decides to completely do away with their old god heritage, they might want to purify themselves in a way. I mean, think of it something similar to trolls in the Well of Eternity and how the trolls turned into night elves. So these Nerubians could start looking humanoid-like, maybe quite similar to the Mantid. In fact, seeing
The
that the
Mantid would
Mantid
be
weren't
more
just
like
bad
it.
guys back in Mob, they could also become a customization options for this new Akir old god-like race. However, it is not just a playable race. The most interesting thing, this interesting feature, could be the Crypt Lord class that actually used to be a hero class back in Warcraft 3 that we've played with, as all of you guys remember on Nubarak. The thing about a lot of these hero classes back in Warcraft 3 was that Blizzard sort of merged them with the existing ones, so Blade Masters were added to Warriors, Beast Masters, Riflemen to Hunters. However, no one really added the Crypt Lords to anything as they're a unique Nerubian class. I mean, it's really hard to replicate. I mean, pretty much just like the Drakti Evokers. Best of all, they have some of the coolest abilities out there, being able to hide and burrow underground, being able to cast those stunning spikes that could also have AoE damage, and sending all these little bugs as well. In my opinion, this could be like the tank class. I mean, when you think of an Obrak, you most certainly think of a tank because he looks like what an actual tank would look like if a tank was a spider.
Yeah, that would definitely be a tanking
He can
class.
take a lot of damage with his insanely powerful shell. However, other than the Crypt Lord, the Nerubians as a race are actually highly intelligent and really versatile. We've seen everything from regular warriors to spellcasters, venomancers. Most importantly, they're also a really unique Warcraft 3 race that is
They have a lot of
incredibly
classes
deeply
for sure,
rooted in
but
Warcraft
that's still crazy
lore,
talk.
so it
Doran
would be a
got off
popular
the
choice
cliff
to
with
add
this
to the
one.
game. I mean, much like the Naga as well. Now, whether they can happen as a playable race, I mean, I can't really say for certain. It is possible if Blizzard wants to do it, but I do feel like if the old gods get relevant, and almost certainly they will, they're going to be returning soon and their story will continue, as after all, the Nerubians are very closely tied to the Black Empire. Thank you for watching. Check out the return of the Void
don't see what
Planet Collection,
Doran
the
is
next
cooking
expansion
this
by
time.
clicking on the screen, and check out my second channel for Witcher and Slavic mythology. See you next time.
Doran was definitely cooking, okay? He was cooking. I just wasn't going to eat what he was cooking. That's about it. The Nerubians, I think, will be relevant again with the old gods coming back, but I see them, you know, being relevant in terms of the fact that they'll just be old god minions once again. If the old gods return and their power returns to full power, I don't think there's any way the Nerubians resist it, and they just fall back in the line and they join the Black Empire and all that shit all over again. And then we kill them again, because that's what we do best with the Nerubians. We kill them. That's what we've been doing for years. Cooking crack, yeah. Yeah.